There's a specific moment that happens when you check your bank account and see a number that starts with a 5 and has 4 zeros after it. Not 500, not 5,000, $50,000. And I'm not talking about the feeling of being rich, because $50,000 isn't rich. What I'm talking about is something much stranger. Something that happens in your brain that nobody in personal finance ever really explains properly. Because here's the thing. Most people treat $50,000 like it's just a bigger version of $10,000. Like you just added a zero and kept going. But that's not what's actually happening. $50,000 is a different category of money entirely. And the shift that happens when you cross it isn't just mathematical. It's neurological. It's psychological. And honestly, it's a little bit bizarre once you understand it. Let me explain what I mean. When you have zero savings, your brain is running one program: survive. Every financial decision gets filtered through a single question. Can I cover what's coming? That's it. That's the whole operating system. And it works, kind of, the way a smoke alarm works. It keeps you out of danger, but it makes it impossible to think clearly about anything else while it's going off. At $10,000 saved, the alarm gets quieter. At $20,000, it mostly shuts up. But at $50,000, the program changes entirely. Your brain stops running survival mode and starts running something that psychologists call a growth orientation. Instead of asking, can I cover what's coming? You start asking, what do I actually want to happen?
That sounds subtle.
It is not subtle. That question rewires every financial decision you make from that point forward. Before we go further, I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want you to think about this for a second. Where are you right now on this journey? Are you just getting started, somewhere in the middle, or are you already past 50,000 and wondering what comes next? Drop your number in the comments, not your actual balance, just the milestone you're currently working toward. Because I read every single comment, and knowing where you are helps me make videos that actually matter to you. Now, back to the math, because this is where it gets genuinely interesting. Let's say you've been saving $800 a month and earning a 7% annual return. Getting to your first $50,000 takes roughly 4.5 years of consistent discipline. That's a long time. A lot of saying no. A lot of delayed gratification. But here's what happens the moment you cross that threshold. Your money starts doing a second job you never hired it for. At $50,000 invested, a 7% annual return generates $3,500 in a single year without you touching anything, without you working extra hours, without you cutting another subscription or packing another lunch. That $3,500 just appeared because your existing money was working while you slept. And here's the part that changes everything. That $3,500 gets reinvested, which means next year it's not $50,000 earning 7%. It's $53,500, which earns more, which reinvests, which earns even more. You've heard of compound interest. You've probably nodded along to explanations of it. But there's a difference between understanding compound interest intellectually and feeling it in your bank account. $50,000 is the number where most people feel it for the first time, where the math stops being theoretical and starts being something you can actually see happening month to month. But the money itself is almost the secondary story here. Because what $50,000 really buys you isn't financial security. It's options. And options are worth more than most people realize until they have them. Think about your job for a second. Right now, if your boss treated you badly today, what would you actually do about it? If your company announced layoffs tomorrow, how many months could you survive? If a recruiter called you this afternoon with something that paid slightly less but was infinitely better, could you actually consider it? For most people, the honest answer to all three questions is not much. Because when you're living with thin margins, You negotiate from fear. You accept what's in front of you because walking away isn't a real option. Your employer knows this. Your boss knows this. And whether anyone says it out loud or not, it affects every interaction you have at work. $50,000 changes that equation completely.
Suddenly, you have what I'd call a financial exit ramp. Not because you're going to quit tomorrow, but because you could. And that possibility, just the existence of it, changes how you show up at work. You ask for the raise. You push back on the unreasonable deadline. You say no to the project that would consume your weekends, because you can afford to find out what happens when you do. Here's the part that's almost unfair. Often, you don't even need to use the money. Just having it changes your posture. And people respond to that posture with better opportunities, better treatment, and yes, more income, which accelerates everything else. There's one more thing that happens at $50,000 that I want to make sure you understand, because it's the piece that separates the people who keep building from the people who plateau. When you hit $50,000, you officially stop being someone who is trying to save money. You become someone who has money working for them. And that identity shift is not just motivational nonsense. It literally changes the decisions you make going forward. You start reading the fine print on things. You start noticing fee structures. You start thinking in terms of opportunity cost instead of just monthly payments.
The person with $50,000 saved doesn't ask if they can afford the monthly payment on a new car. They ask what that car is actually costing them in terms of what that money could become in 10 years. And once you start thinking that way, you cannot stop. It's like learning a cheat code you can never unknow. Now, here's the one mistake I see people make when they hit this milestone. They treat it like a finish line. They've been so disciplined for so long that the moment they cross 50,000, they feel like they've earned permission to exhale. And they start spending in ways that quietly erode the foundation they spent years building.
Don't do that. Not because you don't deserve to enjoy your money, but because you're standing at the exact point where compounding starts working hard enough to feel like cheating. Walking away from that right now would be like training for a marathon for 4 years and stopping at mile 25. $50,000 is not the destination. It's the moment the game actually starts. Everything before it was practice. Everything after it is momentum. And momentum, once you actually have it, is the one financial asset nobody can take away from you.
If this video helped you see your savings differently, do me a favor and hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content who actually need it. And if you want to keep building on this, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we go deep on exactly this kind of thing every single week. I'll see you in the next one.